Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back to the study, the Torah cycle here and Light to the Nations. It's a blessing to be once again with you after the break last week. We missed sharing the study, the last portion of Bereshit, but I hope you do your homework and you study by yourself. And today we are beginning with the next book, the book of Shemot, names. So we will see what YaHuWaH is bringing to us in this day, and really hope that you are having a blessed Shabbat and you are enjoying this time in YaHuWaH. Something you want to say?
No, just sharing that when we are reading these books, we are realizing that everything is coming to a reality in our days. Everything that we are reading is applicable to what we are living, the distress that we are going to read about, and all the help that is coming from Abba is so nice that we have to really trust in him, to trust in how he's doing everything, even the difficult times, even the trials. He's going to give us his hand to lift up again, to continue this working. So even though we have to face maybe struggle, maybe to harsh time, he's going to be kind with his people.
That's true. At the end, there's always hope. There's always a plan, and there's always the calm before the storm.
And it's a learning path. So
yeah, I think all of us are going through some kind of difficulties. For me, that at least has been the 2 weeks very difficult and stressful weeks. That's why last week I needed to take a break. And it seems that what's coming along the way is gonna be in the same situation, but we need to put our hope in Abba. I had the chance just to read the first chapter before the broadcast. I haven't read the portion, so we are going to do it together. And I saw myself in the in that chapter. Basically, it has been harsh weeks. So we need to pray for one another. I think there are evil things happening in the world. We had the chance to get into some information this week about a few things that are happening, and most probably you are also aware. The darkness is moving on faster than we thought, and that's why we need to get into the light, and the light is the one stronger than the darkness. Darkness cannot overcome the light. This is what is the way that it's written. So that's why I think what you said is so important. Is we need to keep our hope, our faith, our emunah. It's not easy, but we need to win the fight, the internal fight, the fight within, in order to get closer and closer and closer every day to Abba. So I think what we are going to read today most probably is so related to what we are talking now that we need to see what Abba is bringing to the study. So as I always invite all of you is I invite you to write your comments in the chat. It's important that we share with one another what Abba is bringing to our heart. And we are studying together, and that's the beauty of this, is that Abba is revealing things piece by piece to different part of his body, and that's why we need to be all together in this path of learning, this path of study his word, in this path of seeking his face and getting just him to teach us what he wants to teach us today. So I was listening to a song this morning when I was preparing everything, for this broadcast. And I think it should be our prayer in these days. So let me play this song for you. Take a look in the lyrics. I think it's a beautiful song, and take it for yourself as is your prayer to Abba. And I think this is exactly what we need to pray today, pray these days, and to ask Abba to do this for all of us, to his people. So let me play for you, and we will continue with the study after this.
לב טהור בא לי אלוהים, לב טהור, לב טהור, רוח נכון חדש בקרבי, רוח נכון, רוח נכון, אל תשליכני מלפניך, ברוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני, השיבה לי ששון אישך, ברוח נדיבה תשמחני. לב טהור בא לי אלוהים, לב טהור, לב טהור, ברוח נכון חדש בקרבי, רוח נכון, רוח נכון, אל תשליכני מלפניך, ברוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני, השיבה לי ששון אישך, ורוח נדיבה תשמחני. אל תשליכני מלפניך, ברוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני, השיבה לי ששון אישך, ורוח נדיבה, רוח נדיבה תשמחני.
That's a beautiful song, Lev Tahor. So I will invite you to close your eyes and let's pray together before starting the study. YaHuWaH, we want to give thanks to you in this moment because you give us the opportunity to we gather together this platform with intention, with the desire of our heart to study your word. Thank you all because you set us apart through your word, through your covenant. Because in Yahushua, we are part of your covenant and part of your people, Israel. And we are keeping your commandments in order to show our love for you. And in this Shabbat, we want to give our heart to you. We want to praise your name. We want to let the door of our heart open so you can be with us. We want to ask you all in this moment that you can guide us in this study today, that you can give us of your wisdom, that you can give us of your Ruach, so we can grow in knowledge of your truth, that you can strengthen our faith, you can strengthen our steps, so we can continue to the final destination that is your kingdom, healing this earth. In this time that we see evil happening in the world, it's when we need you the most. And we pray to you in this moment that you can restore your people in this time. And you can restore our strength. You can guide us in everything we do, so we can fulfill the purpose for what you have chosen us. And we can bring your light in those places that you are guiding us to bring your light. We love you with all our heart, and we trust in you with all our being. And our hope and our trust is in you. And we know that you are with us, because this is what Yahushua, your son, told us, that he will be with us till the end of the world. And we want to fulfill your purposes and to do your will. In this moment, I pray to you and I ask you that you can touch with your healing hand to any of your children that are struggling with illness. We pray for Corina. You can touch her, bring healing to her body. And we pray for anybody that is going through difficult situations, anybody that is going through any type of illness, anybody that is going through difficulties, that you can guide them, that you can touch them, that you can be with them. You can show them a way out the situation and the trials that are going through. That you can give us to all of your people the knowledge that in trials is when you are the most with us. That is, during trials is when you are teaching us and strengthening us in order to fulfill major purposes in your kingdom. Prepare us for anything you want from us, that we can be ready for you, your purposes out, and that your Ruach can be with us in any place we go. Thank you for your presence, for being with us in this time. And we pray that your wisdom and your Ruach guide us in this study in order to learn more from you and to know you more. Thank you, Abba, for listening to our voice. And we pray to you in this moment in the name of YaHuWaH, your Son, our King. Amen. So let's do what we do always. Let's see and let's listen for the Parsha in 60 seconds, and let's see what YaHuWaH is bringing to us today. So let's see. I don't know even if I prepared the Parsha. Is here. So let's listen to this one.
Shalom and welcome to Parsha in 60 seconds. Today's portion is from Exodus 1:1 through 6:1. It is called Shemot, which means names. Jacob's descendants filled the land of Egypt. Joseph and all of his generation died. A new Pharaoh arose, but did not know Joseph. He feared the amount of Israelites and enslaved them. He commanded the Hebrew midwives to kill all baby boys at birth, but they feared God and disobeyed. Pharaoh commanded that all newborn boys be cast into the river. A Levite couple hid their baby boy for 3 months. Finally, he was sent downriver in a basket, and Pharaoh's daughter found and adopted him and named him Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Moses grew up and he saw injustice on the Hebrews and killed an Egyptian. He ran away, met the Midians, and married into their family. God heard the cry of the Hebrews, and while Moses was watching sheep, God appeared to Moses as a burning bush. Moses was sent back to Egypt, and God would perform many wonders through Moses' staff. God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Moses and his bro Aaron confronted Pharaoh, and he was like, "Hey, let my people go." And Pharaoh was like, no. Pharaoh then made the Israelites work even harder and blamed Moses for it. Moses questioned God why things weren't working out, and God told Moses that the show was just beginning, and God would throw down on the Pharaoh. And that is Shemot in 60 seconds.
Wow, the show was just beginning, and I think this is exactly what we will start seeing soon in our days, that the show is just beginning. So let me put the scriptures here on the screen, and I think it's this one. Yes, it's this one.
In Spanish?
Yes, we will do it with the scripture in Spanish. I think it's a good way to share the mother tongue with everybody. And so, no, here we go.
Yeah.
So let's go to Shemot chapter 1. So let's start reading, okay? I'm gonna start, okay? It says the following. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Mizraim with Jacob, each one with his household: Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, Yisachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all those who were descendants of Jacob were 70 beings, as Joseph was already in Mizraim. And Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased very much, multiplied, and became very strong. And the land was filled with them. Then a new sovereign arose over Mizraim, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "See, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we. Come, let us act wisely towards them, lest they increase, and it shall be when fighting befalls us, that they shall join our enemies and fight against us, and shall go up out of the land." Let's keep it until there. So, do you have any comment you want to share?
That usually it says that it's a new Pharaoh, and that he didn't know Joseph. So maybe it's like usually when, I don't know if you have seen this, but usually when you have a new president in a country or somebody, they always try to eliminate everything that the other people has done before. They don't even though it was something good, they don't want to make an improvement. They just want to delete everything and start everything again. So sometimes you think
it's like like a reset, you know?
Something like that. And in this case, I think that maybe he didn't knew YaHuWaH. Maybe it's also related to that maybe, well, he was not in the same age and he was not maybe living at the same time, but also didn't recognize about all the work that he has done. So I think also it has something to do with that.
Yeah. A new generation passed, a new king came with new ideas.
And they were more. that is the difference, that the fear of the Pharaoh, because they were less, the other group were numerous.
There are multiple theories. I think that there is something written in the book of Yasher, and if somebody knows more details, I invite you to write this down on the comments. Is that this Pharaoh, it wasn't from Egypt itself, it was somebody coming from outside.
From outside, okay.
Yes, and it's a kind of related to the Assyrian. When I saw that Shirion shared something in the chat about that. So that's an interesting thought, because it could explain somehow why this person didn't know Joseph, because Joseph was the almost Pharaoh. He was the second in command. Everybody knew Joseph, and most probably was part of this history of Egypt, known history of Egypt, even in those days. So it's something that I think it's worth enough to maybe to take a look in more details and with more time, because it could get more connections. I remember Rob and he was talking about this in the past multiple times, and it's somehow a connection also with if I'm not wrong, with Nimrod. So that's something that it could be really interesting. But you know what it for me it seems is also interesting here is that it's something similar to what's happening today, and you know, this is human nature, we can say, is that we see how the level of untrust is increasing. You know, this new king came to the picture, and he started to fear. He started to not to trust on Israel. He started to doubt on what was going to happen, and he put himself maybe in a situation, in a scenario, in a futuristic scenario, because only of fear that Israel was so numerous that they were going to fight with him. And maybe when we talk about spiritual warfare, we see exactly the same. It's just a matter to see what's happening today. No, it's the level of untrust today has increased a lot. If you don't think in the same way that the other one think, and this is
you're a threat.
Yes, you're a threat for them. And it could be in the opposite direction, that the other are not thinking as we are, that we felt threatened, and also we are starting to not to trust on those people. So you know what's going on, it's somehow that let's say it's a weakness in our nature is being exploited in order to prepare a scenario. And this is what I see in this part of the portion, and this is what I see happening today. The point is that what we are going to do about it, we are going to get trapped on these thoughts and feelings and way of doing things, or we are going to act differently. And because you know, he started to lose his trust, and when we managed to read this chapter, or the chapter in preparation, if you remember, I told you that when we were reading the previous portion on Bereshit here in this channel, it wasn't the last portion of the book of Bereshit because we skipped last week, was the previous one. We realized that everybody became a slave, Pharaoh, all the Misrians, all the Egyptians.
They were depending on him.
Yes, because they gave up their lands, their possessions, their assets,
even their own lives.
That was the last thing they gave up. And it is written, if I'm not wrong, that they became a kind of slave to Pharaoh, servants of Pharaoh. So somehow, in the way that it's written, that they lost their freedom. But the people of Israel, it is written that they had possessions in the land, so they were free. So there was a kind of a difference between the status of the Egyptians or Misrians and the status of the people of Israel in Egypt, in Misraim itself. So it could be, and this is just a theory, it could be that they started to see the differences. That this one, they have more blessings, to put it in some way, than these ones. That these ones, this group of people were living differently, and maybe they were enjoying differently than this other group of people.
But you changed them because that was Israel and this was
Ah,
Mitzrayim.
okay, it doesn't
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, that one.
It doesn't matter. It's the difference between Egypt and Israel. So when that happened, you know, envy started to rise internally in the people, and this is moving people in different directions.
And if they're seeing good result in the other group, if they are being, I don't know, prosperous, they're going to feel that they have to stop that. Yeah,
that's true. So let's continue reading because a few things are really interesting, and I see our brother, the emissary of Elohim, wrote something really interesting that also we're going to mention. It says that in the verse 11, so they set the slave masters over them to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. And the Misrites, or the Egyptians, made the children of Israel serve with harshness, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. All their work which they made them do was with harshness. So, you know, I have some notes from previous years here with me. And I have here it in my notes is that it is written in the book of Yasher, and I don't have word which chapter, so if somebody knows, maybe you can share it in the chat. Is that the Egyptians came with deceit to the people of Israel in order to make them slaves. I don't remember exactly what they told them. So if somebody remembered and know, please put the comment in the chat. Is that they came and started to deceive the people of Israel in order to for Israel to lose their freedom, getting into that trap. And they got in the trap. They got caught in the trap. So that's why they became slaves of the Egyptians. But the only one that didn't got caught in the trap was the tribe of Levi, the priests. So, and this is something that for me is really interesting because if we think in the parallels of what's happening today, we are being called to be priests and kings. And somehow the system of the world today is, and especially in this last few years, is pushing forward in order to put this type of trap on us in order to get caught in this system of the world.
Maybe it's a kind of a nice invitation showing like everything is good, so people are going to go for it.
Yep.
They are going to accept.
Yes. And you know, if you remember, we talked about this and what we, and most probably we mentioned it in the last portion here in the channel, is that the Pharaoh did something similar through Joseph when they had the famine. Is that people from Egypt, they started to, as we said a minute ago, started to give up their things. Why? Because of food. So most probably in this case was something very similar. I don't remember exactly what happened, and I don't know if somebody already shared here on the chat, but I think this is worded, and this is a homework. I'm gonna tell all of you to do a research. Go to the book of Yesher after this broadcast and read about it, because I think if they came with the seed, most probably they were offering things.
Maybe a very good job opportunity, very good pay, I don't know, free meal and blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were accepting that.
Or to own nothing and be happy, or something like that.
Like that.
So why is important? Because as we always study, we study the word in order to increase in knowledge in one side. In other side is to know YaHuWaH better. But I think also we can say in order to be prepared, to prepare ourselves. And why to prepare ourselves? Because there's nothing new under the sun. It is written in His Word. So what happened in the past is going to happen again. And I think this is exactly what's happening in front of our eyes. And I have no doubt that this is exactly what's happening in front of our eyes. So I think the word is helping us in order to have open eyes, and in order to be act wisely, as the tribe of Levi was wise and didn't got caught into that trap. So we need to be like them.
Yeah, to see the good examples and follow them, and also see the bad examples and avoid them. So we have the two sides in every single story. So we have to be very careful.
And this is exactly what you said before we started the study, is that even Israel were facing harsh trials. They were increasing. They were increasing in numbers. And the people of Egypt, the Misrians, were in fear of them. So I remember when we were reading and studying the book of Shemuel, I think it was First Samuel, and it was a kind of funny because I didn't realize before the study, it was during the broadcast, is that Samuel was in fear of going somewhere. I think it was in fear of Shaul. But the people of Shaul was in fear of Samuel. So everybody was in fear of the rest. And I do believe this is exactly what's happening today. And why I'm mentioning this is because, maybe we can feel some fears sometimes because of what we think we see happening in the world. But as we are reading here, Egypt was in fear, was in dread of Israel. So it could be, and what do you think about this? It could be that maybe the rest of the people, these evil forces and evil spirits that are orchestrating everything that's happening in these times, in our times, are also in fear of what we could do as the people of YaHuWaH. What do you think on this?
I think that they know, even they don't want to recognize him. I know that very deep in their heart that YaHuWaH has the control of everything. But they want to see and to prove what are the limits. I don't know why. But I think that they are going to create even the image that, yes, they fear. Maybe, people who is a believer, and they are going to add a lot of stuff so everybody could see them as the opposition. So
I do believe that actually it is written that
they are not but it's not going to be like the fear, like the respect. It's going to be like they are going to put like the fear, but with the aggression, with the negativity. So that is what is dangerous, and that is why we have to be wise and always be under the umbrella of Abba and ask him for protection, and not to put ourselves in dangerous situation and to go to places where he's not calling us. So we have to be very careful and work in our communication with him to work for his guidance.
So I think this point is really important because it's reinforcing what YaHuWaH spoke about, that we should not fear the ones that are able to kill the body. Is that we need to fear him that is able to kill the body and the nefesh, and the soul in Gehenna. That's YaHuWaH in the second death. So if we think that this darkness is in fear of what the YaHuWaH can do through his people, in the same way that we see here in the verse 12, the one that I have highlighted in the screen, it should reinforce even more our position and our attitude, that if we trust in YaHuWaH, we really trust in him, we have nothing to fear. So, and I think I have mentioned this in the past. It's normal. I think it's part of our nature that we are going this up and down sometimes. But we need to remember all the time is that if we fear him, YaHuWaH, I mean, we have nothing else to fear. We have nobody else to fear. And we need to remember that the evil forces fear him the most.
And they know that they have little time.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why they're attacking.
So let's continue. It says, then the sovereign of Mizraim spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shifra and the name of the other Pua. And he said, when you deliver the Hebrew women and see them on the bear stools, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim and did not do as the sovereign of Mizraim commanded them, and kept the male children alive. So the sovereign of Mizraim called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this and kept the male children alive? And the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Mizraim's women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them. So Elohim was good to the midwives, and the people increased and became very numerous. And it came to be, because of the midwives feared Elohim, that he provided households for them. And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, throw every son who is born into the river, and keep alive every daughter. Wow. So I think we have even more parallels to what's happening today, isn't it? Any thought you want to share?
No, that well, I told you before, that is when we are put in any situation and we know that any instruction that we receive from anybody, even somebody who has a very important position, but is against the will and the commands of YaHuWaH, we know what is our loyalty, what we have to do, and what is happening. And I think that they didn't have to made up with an excuse. I think that was what really happened, that the mothers were given birth, and very quickly and in a very easy way. So they didn't have even to lie about that. That is the reality. And I thought that's why when you are truthful and when you are loyal to YaHuWaH, he's going to look and he's going to prepare the scenario to protect you for following him instead of choosing somebody else. He's going to provide everything. He's going to prepare everything. And it says that he even provides them a place to live. households for them. So I think that that is very important, is talking to us, what we are going to follow, what we are going to do in a very critical situation, because it's okay, this is your work, this is what you have to do, this is your instruction. But we know what is first: the commandments, the right ruling, the path that YaHuWaH is showing us.
That's absolutely true. And actually, you know, when I was saying that this is somehow a parallel to what's happening today, you know, there is a huge movement regarding the population, about how much population do we have in the world today, in the earth.
And they are manipulating that.
And what we see Pharaoh doing here is basically
Killing
population control. And he didn't want to allow a specific type of group of people to grow, to increase. So, and when we see in the world today, this is exactly what's happening. You know, it's a kind of weird something on the earth that we were discussing the other day, that people are acting so violent. You know, there's so much violence in every action, and you know, you can see it everywhere. And it's because, you know, this is exactly these evil forces that are pushing these kind of things on people. We need to remember that we don't fight against blood and flesh. This is the way that it's written. We fight against principalities. We fight against those evil spirits. And I think it is exactly what we see happening in the world. And somehow I see the correlation in this just this chapter. You know, there's so much discussion about abortions in these times, like never before. Most probably in the past it wasn't discussed so openly as today, but we need to acknowledge and recognize that these type of things didn't happen in the way that is happening today. And in the words of somebody else, is that I think it was YaHuWaH who said this, is that we have never seen in the past celebration of sin. And this is exactly what's happening today. Everybody celebrate and embrace sins as seen as a normal thing in the world. And what we see here is exactly what's happening with Pharaoh and this commandment to kill people, to almost do abortion at the moment. It wasn't before they giving birth, it was after giving birth, but it was exactly the same intention. And when we see the scripture, we see that this has been happening always, no matter the time on human history. We see Herod doing exactly the same. We see Greece, when we read the book of Maccabees, doing exactly the same with the people of Israel. We see Pharaoh, you know, almost at the very beginning of human history, doing exactly the same. And we see, you know, in our times, the system of the world, the system of the beast, doing exactly the same. You know, they are putting this in a different type of name. They are painting this with a different colors, but in the bottom line, they are doing exactly the same as they have been doing in the past. And this should reinforce our belief that it's the same system, is the same beast that has been acting throughout the human history. And it should reinforce our emunah even more, that we see that the darkness has been acting exactly in the same way all over the years, all over the centuries, is that light in the other side is acting also in the same way that we see written in his word. And that should fill us with emunah, that the same things that we saw happening through Israel and through the servants of YaHuWaH in the past, it should happen in this time. And I told you this in the few times, and I have no doubt, though, when I go, and when we go through difficulties and harshness, that I managed to read some of the comments here, that everybody is going through difficulties and harshness even in their jobs, and that has been my case as well lately. We are the far away from him, and we are the mindset focused in the different thing. But even we go through those valley of shadow, we need to remember, and we must keep our trust that in the same way that we see darkness acting in the same pattern all over the time, light will act in the same pattern. YaHuWaH will act in the same pattern as we see in His Word, and He will do it through us. And that's why we need to be prepared for the time that is coming, and is coming soon, that He will act through us in order to bring His light, in order to bring His truth, in order to bring His judgment into this world. And when I say judgment, I don't say it in a kind of vengeance attitude. It's in a kind of restoration attitude. Is that He will bring all of this in order to restore everything. It's just a matter to imagine ourselves, how this world can be, or the system can be healed.
Well, it says that at one point all the darkness and all the evil is going to be swallowed up by the light. It's going to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know why it made me to think about the email that I read you about, the one that my brother sent me. That it says every action, everyone in this earth, at some point, they have to give explanation of what they did, how they act, what they do to their neighbors, and what they are doing now, and especially with the children, is going to be something very serious. Because even Yahushua was saying, for that people, it's even better that they go and throw themselves into a river with a stone. That what they are doing. So the punishment is going to be very, very big. So we have to hope, and I think that maybe YaHuWaH is not somebody who is enjoying the revenge. He's not that kind of person. He's going to make them disappear, like they don't exist anymore, because He cannot stand the evil. So we have to be set apart and not taking part of that. So we have to be very strong, and the times that we are living are very serious.
I do believe, and I told you the other day, if you remember, is that we are getting to a point when we cannot keep quiet.
Yeah.
Because if we keep quiet, we are
being part.
We are being part of what's happening. We have a few commandments in the scriptures that if we don't talk when we see sin being committed, we are being part of it, and we are also guilty.
Yeah, and we are going to receive the punishment also.
And also is if we see danger coming, we need to be watchman on the wall and to let people know.
Yeah, to give them.
So, and I want to be very, very clear on what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that we need to go and protest. It doesn't mean that we need to go and fight. It doesn't mean that we need to go and be violent in the way we are talking and speaking out. Is nothing of that. Is that we cannot remain quiet. We need to say. We need to tell people what we know. We need to tell people what we believe. We need to share light. If we keep ourselves quiet, it's exactly as YaHuWaH was talking when he said about the light. If we put the light in a place that is not gonna illuminate the space, is not serving the purpose, is basically remaining quiet. We need to speak up, and I think the time is coming that we need to do it, even if that means persecution, even if that means rejection, even if that means many things, because this is exactly what the purpose and the will of YaHuWaH has for his people. He has decided to define and to choose a people for a specific purpose. And sometimes it's difficult to understand when we look this from outside, to understand why me, why us, how that could be true, that he is an Elohim that we don't see. There is an Elohim that has chosen a specific group of people, that this has been happening for so many years and we see nothing happening, and that why to keep believing, and how this invisible being been chosen a selected group of people in order to do something. We can think in this way, and most probably most of the people in the world think in this way. And sometimes if we want to use our rational mind, we can put those questions, but we cannot deny. And this is the beautiful thing, every time that I remember the words of Kefa, I think, and Yehohanan, when they got in prison. And I think, if I'm not wrong, it is in the book of Acts, when they got when they got caught by the priests, and the priests were telling them not to talk about Mashiach. They were telling them exactly the opposite what I'm saying now, is that they were telling them to remain quiet, not to talk. And the answer they gave is that we cannot remain quiet, and we cannot stay silent for what we have seen and what we have heard. So no matter that maybe the rational mind of the world can put doubts, I do believe that everyone here listening to what I'm saying cannot deny what we have heard, what we have seen, and what we have experienced, in the way that Allah brought us to his ways, in the way Allah has guided our steps since we have been a child till now. We cannot deny how he has been beside us, how he has done everything for us. We cannot deny that. And that should be more than enough in order to keep our faith, and in order to say exactly the same words as Kefa, Peter, and Yohanan and John said. We cannot deny. We cannot stay quiet. We need to speak up. And this is the time. I do believe that we need to speak up.
And usually is when somebody approaches us, and maybe they are, they are looking for an answer. Maybe they are looking for an advice, maybe like a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And as a friend, we can ask them and suggest them to go and look for YaHuWaH. Maybe they didn't know how to do it. Just look and have a moment by themselves with him and talk to him. like he was the friend that they never had,
Mhm.
the parent they never had. Because even though we have received very good parents, we know that his love and his commitment with us is perfect,
Mhm.
is against everything. So, and he is willing to provide that to everyone who is looking for him. But the problem is that usually we as people, we try to look in some other places.
Mhm.
And if we found somebody who is asking for an advice or who is asking for help, we have to show them that it was the same way that we were helped time ago, that he was there waiting for us.
Sure. And you know, in the last verse, it says the order, and I have my notes here, is that they were throwing babies 7 months.
Mm.
And for 7 months, nobody did nothing.
Mm.
So, you know, we see things happening in the world today, and that's why, you know, I have been feeling this, is that the time came already that we need to speak up. Speaking up, not in hate, not in violence. They will tag us, put a tag on us that we are the creatures of hate. You remember I did this video when it was?
Yeah.
2017, was
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, this is coming, you know, the ground is being prepared in order to say that we are the preachers of hate, and those were exactly their words. And
Because,
that level.
Because now they are calling to what is good evil and what is evil good.
Exactly.
So that's why.
You know, before going to the chapter 2, I will share the link with you. This is something that we were watching this week. I will recommend you to take a look on this with the details and with calm. I think is the information they are bringing in this documentary. This is quite compelling. And this is exactly, I think, put us ourselves to discuss these things, is that we are getting to the point that we cannot remain quiet. So I will suggest to take a look on this if you have done it yet. And this is a kind of explanation of what we see happening today. And I think it's totally correlated to
what we're
the portion, what we see here happening.
What Pharaoh is doing and is trying to do. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to chapter 2. Okay. Do you want to read
it? Okay. And the man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi, and the woman conceived and bore a son. And she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months. And when she could hid him no longer, she took an ark of wicker for him, and coated it with tar and pitch, and put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the edge of the river. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him.
Yeah, this is so similar to the Ark of Noah.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing. It's just to prepare something to go through the water in order to save and special people.
Yeah. And who is the sister here? The Ruach.
Could be.
Could be the Ruach.
Could be. Yeah.
That he's taking care of and watching.
Mm-hmm.
And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it, and opened it, and saw the child, and see, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the children of the Hebrews." So she noticed. Yes. Something was saying, maybe the clothes, maybe that he was circumcised, I don't know, because the circumcision was something that they were keeping. So
let me say something, because we forgot, and it's aligned to what you're saying, but we forgot to mention something important you told me before the broadcast. I just saw a comment from Shirion saying Moses' mother committed civil disobedience.
Yeah, because she hid him.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
exactly. So she was not following the rules at the moment because she know that it was evil,
Mm.
and she did something in order to protect
Mm.
her child.
Mm.
You remember what you told me about the two midwives?
Mm.
They got an order from Pharaoh.
Mm.
They got a law from Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Okay, but they
Didn't do what they were
didn't do
instru-
it. Why?
Yeah, because they fear Elohim.
Uh-huh.
And they know that they were going against what Elohim commands. That is, not commit murder. So what we are seeing is the same. And obviously she's going to be willing to do everything what is in her hands to keep the child alive.
So what's the takeaway of this is that that's exactly is the
We cannot go against the commands.
it's the way that we need to think and act. If we
Those
see
are first.
happening something that is pushing us to disobey and to do something that is evil in the eyes of YaHuWaH, we cannot concede, we cannot follow those things.
Yeah, maybe we are going to have consequences.
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe those consequences are going to lead us in the right path that we need to arrive at one point. I remember when I was asked to work on Shabbat once, and I was explaining the reason that I was not going to do it. And it was something maybe some other people could have said, okay, you're fired, you're not going to work with us. But maybe that would lead to some other kind of arrangement that at the end was good to the whole company. Because at that moment, nobody was asked to do that. Maybe it was only for a little time. But that is going to help us to continue and to go in the proper way.
So that's the way to measure the ways.
Maybe I was going to be fired. I don't know. Maybe that was the moment where I needed to be fired. Yep. And so at the end, only YaHuWaH knows when you are beside him how he's going to prepare and to do everything, but in the benefit for you and the people who are loyal to him.
And it is a way to bring light.
Yeah. I don't remember when.
Neither.
And yeah, this is the one of the children of the Hebrews. And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call a nurse for you?
And you said maybe it was circumcised. That's why she.
Yeah, I guess maybe the also the clothes the baby was wearing, because usually they have different kind of I don't know, linen maybe or something. So it was something that was distinctive when they saw him. And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you? And this is very nice because she knew, and she has everything prepared. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the young woman went and called the child's mother. So exactly the person who was the right person was there. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child away and nurse him for me. Then I shall pay your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, saying, because I have drawn him out of the water. It's my belief that he was raised, and it was not hidden from him that he was Hebrew. Because why I believe that? Because he knew
because when the way that is written in verse 11
that he knew about the brothers and everything.
Though I do believe that he also grew
knowing that he was adopted.
But in the laws and the education system of the Egyptians,
he
because at the end, no matter, he knew that he was a Hebrew and he was raised up by his mother as a nurse. Most probably he was living with Pharaoh
and following their kind of style lives.
He was instructed on their wisdom and their knowledge and this kind of things.
Yeah, not just noticing this because in some, I don't know, movies and things like that, they usually picture that he didn't have any idea.
He realized at the end. Yes.
And in those days it came to be, when Moshe was grown, that he went out to his brothers and looked at the burdens. And he saw a Mitzrayim striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers. So he turned this way and that way. And when he saw no one, he struck the Mitzrayim and hid him in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And he went out the second day and saw 2 Hebrew men fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, "Why do you strike your neighbor?" And he said, "Who made you head and judge over us? Did you intend to kill me as you killed the Mitzrayim?" And Moshe feared and said, "Truly the matter is known."
Mm-hmm. Persecution. This is a picture of persecution.
Yeah, but you know what? It called my attention that at the beginning, he, strike somebody with the result of death.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was killed, the Mitzrayim, but it was the enemy dying because he was hurting your brother.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you see this, it's okay, we have a death, but it was because somebody was acting against your brother, your own family. I'm not saying that it's good to kill somebody, but this was the result. But then the second part, it was 2 brothers, 2 persons of the same family,
Mm-hmm.
and they were fighting each other. And when he was calling them to be calm, and they were angry with him,
Mm-hmm.
and they were pointing out the situation that he was a killer.
But
so
mm-hmm.
it was like, and we don't want you as a head. You are. It was like when Lot was called, "Who is making you judge over us?" So it was like the same situation, and it's okay. Now this time, I'm trying to avoid that you are fighting, and you bring up this situation that it was from my past,
Mm-hmm.
and this is more important for you, and at least is. I don't know, they want him to be put at risk, because it says that even Pharaoh, when he knew about this, he was trying to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So if we see this like YaHuWaH, maybe he's killing the enemy
Mm-hmm.
for defending us. But in some cases, when he's trying to tell us, you don't fight against each
Mm-hmm.
other, maybe some people are going to even seeing with bad eyes that he's killing or he's destroying something,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to see that, okay, this is a sin. So even though it was because our benefit, we don't want him to be our king. We don't want him to be nothing related to us. And some people has that reaction.
Do you think that people knew that Moses was Hebrew? People from Israel?
I don't know.
Because that could be a weird situation, with a lot of envy.
I think that no, because in that case, it would have been a problem for the Pharaoh's family, for the daughter, because usually they keep all this, between walls and everything, like a secret.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, he has something, maybe he was looking for his origin, because usually they said when somebody is being adopted by some other family, they're going to try, and they're going to need at some point to look for their origin. So maybe that's why he was approaching his real family. He was seeing what was happening. Maybe that's why he was put in this situation. But I don't think that the Pharaoh and the daughter was openly, okay, you can go and you can share with whatever you want. No, I think that they were trying to keep him apart.
Just let me read 2 comments here, but I think they are quite relevant. The DDK wrote the following when referring to what we said, that Moses was the rose up on the education system and in the knowledge of Egypt. So what it is here, just as all of us being raised in the world Egypt, is exactly in the parallel with us. This is what she's saying. So it's exactly the same model. We have been raised up in the knowledge and in the system of the beast and the system of the world.
But at some point, you open your eyes.
And YaHuWaH has opened our eyes. So in order to understand that we are in this world, but we are not of the world. And what Karen wrote, I think, is also relevant because we see this happening all over the time, and this is so a parallel to what happened to Moses. She said, when we speak out and call out wrongdoing, even among brothers and sisters, they will reveal their hearts. When they turn, label you in hate, they display the spirit of murder.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
And I think that was something, well, we have to continue reading because I think that was something that was really heavy on Moshe's heart. Because what it says now.
Okay.
And Pharaoh heard of this matter, and he thought to kill Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well, so he flew away. And the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled their throats. I don't know how to say that word. To water their father's flock. Throat.
Doesn't matter. Go
Okay.
ahead.
But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. And they came to Reuel, their father, and he said, How is that you have come so soon today? And they said, A Midian rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew water, enough water for us, and watered the flock. And he said to his daughters, And where is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him and let him eat bread. And Moshe agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah, his daughter, to Moshe. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have become a sojourner in the foreign land. And it came to be after these many days that the sovereign of Mizraim died, and the children of Israel groaned because of the slavery. And they cried out, and their cry came up to Elohim because of the slavery. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Yitzchak, and with Yaakov. And Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew. The two beautiful things about the profession or what Moshe was doing. He was a shepherd now.
Yeah.
He was learning about this. He was protecting somebody who was in danger, in this case, the Jethro's daughter. And he helped them to draw enough water for all the flock. It's very beautiful. And he was, how do you say? He was fighting against the other shepherd, the ones that they want to cause some damage. And
it's a beautiful picture,
Yeah.
actually. You know, I have the notes here from the past. Is that the 7 daughters could be a parallel to the 7 assemblies in the book of Revelation. And one of them, in this case, Sephora, could be Philadelphia, is the chosen one. They wanted to have water. This is basically the Ruach, in the same way that we see with the Samaritan woman. So there are too many parallels to this. And, you know, the only fact that Moses running from the system of the world in this time from Pharaoh to the wilderness, and he found a refuge there.
yeah.
Is also a parallel to what is written that maybe we will need to do. You know, the same happened with the tribe of Judah, in the times of the Maccabees. They needed to escape to the wilderness. In order to, and from there they started to fight against the system of that moment and to recover what it belonged to them.
It's very representative that always going to the wilderness, and then like YaHuWaH when he was
Exactly.
there tempted.
So maybe in the case of Moses, and you know, we spoke about this in the few weeks ago, that we need to embrace our experiences. Sometimes we don't understand, why we are going through some situations. Only YaHuWaH knows. And it could be that this dramatic experience of Moses, it changed his world. He was the prince of Egypt, basically. He was. And from one moment to the other, he found himself nowhere. Without home, without family, without food, without job, without income.
But
with nothing in the wilderness. So his world changed from like this in one moment.
But helping the helpless made him gain a wife and a children and a place to live.
Exactly. But the point I wanted to make is that maybe it was the only way, the only possible way to remove Moses from that place.
Yeah.
Maybe it needed to happen in this way in order for Moses to fulfill his real purposes for what he was saved at the beginning by his mom. And we will continue reading. We know the story, but we will continue reading. That at the end he fulfilled the purpose. And it's a beautiful picture of Mashiach. So when we think in our cases, that's why it's not easy. It's not easy, but we need to embrace any situation, because maybe through those experiences, YaHuWaH is doing something in our lives in order to restrain us to go to the left or to the right, or maybe to remove us from a place or a situation where we should not be, or maybe in order to remove us even more from the system of the world in order to be more in his kingdom. So every time that we are going through those kind of things, we need to remember that the YaHuWaH is always in control. He knows. He knows. And we need to belong to him. We belong to him. We need to trust in him. We need to seek his face and his answers in order to understand what he wants from us.
And when it reads that the people of Israel were crying out to YaHuWaH, and it says, and I really love this part, because it says in the last verse, it says, and Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew. He was hearing. He was okay. He already knew about that. But he took a moment and he looked what was happening. And then he started to acting, to put all the pieces together. And maybe we have to expect the same. Maybe we are complaining, but we have to give him time that he's going to look what is happening. He has to observe, because he is a fair judge. He is not going only to trust on what he is just hearing, but he needs to have the proofs.
He did it in the same way with Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah. So
he came down to confirm.
And that is what is going to happen. It is not only our crying out to him. He is going to see what is happening at this moment, what the evil people are doing, and then he's going to act. So we have to be in the correct side of the place when the punishment is to be thrown to.
But also this is, connecting to what we said before, this should be also our behavior. Maybe we are hearing many things, but at the time we see, we need to do, we need to act. And this is the way that Elohim is doing it, as we see here in this this portion.
We cannot keep silent.
We cannot keep silent. We need to talk about. We need to act. We need to do something about it. And this is so connected to these times, to the end times, because maybe we need to start crying out even more.
Yeah, like really crying.
Yes, maybe we are not in the same situation in the slavery, in the type of slavery that Israel was back then, But I can assure you that we are in a type of slavery.
We're very close.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are in a type of it.
Mm.
We have the feeling of freedom, but the reality, when we were kids, maybe we didn't realize all this. But as soon as you start understanding how this system works, you realize that you are not that type of freedom. You are not having that type of freedom that you believe it is. No, it's not like that. So maybe it's the time that we imitate them and we start crying out to YaHuWaH. And let me go quickly to Devarim, chapter 30. I like this one because it's talking to this generation. Because it says the following: and it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the nations where YaHuWaH your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to YaHuWaH your Elohim and obey his voice, according to all that I command you today, with all your heart and with all your being, you and your children. Then YaHuWaH your Elohim shall turn back your captivity, shall have compassion on you, and he shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where YaHuWaH your Elohim has scattered you. So there's something we need to do in our side, in our part. And maybe this is exactly what thinking in the parallels of that Exodus with the upcoming Exodus, maybe this is exactly what we need to do, is to turn back and to cry out. That's the only way that he is going to give us the freedom of his salvation. And he has promised to all of us. And I have another note here. Let's see what it says. Chapter 2, verse 32. Note. Okay, let's go back. I have something wrong here in the notes. So let's read the chapter 3. It says the following: and Moshe was shepherding the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the wilderness, and came to Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And it is interesting that this is being called immediately the mountain of Elohim. And the messenger of YaHuWaH appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. And he looked and saw the bush burning with fire, but the bush was not consumed. And Moshe said, let me turn aside now and see this great sight, but the bush does not burn. And YaHuWaH saw that he turned aside to see. And Elohim called to him from the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, here I am. Let me stop here for a moment because this is interesting. YaHuWaH, when he called us, he used our senses. This is exactly what did with Moshe here. He put something that was going to cut Moshe's attention.
Yeah.
He has done exactly the same with us, and he will continue doing the same with us. It could be anything. Something that he will use in order to cut our attention. And if we focus on that, we need to start thinking, maybe this is YaHuWaH the one calling us for some purpose. And this is exactly what he did with Moshe. So he said, here I am, he said, Moshe. And he said, do not come near here. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is set apart ground. And he said, I am the Elohim of your father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look at Elohim. And this is really interesting because we see here the messenger of YaHuWaH. It was the messenger of YaHuWaH who appeared in the bush, but it was YaHuWaH who was speaking. and saying this is a set apart place. And we see here somehow the revelation of this Malach YaHuWaH, that I have no doubt that this is Yahushua HaMashiach speaking as YaHuWaH. And he has those kind of encounters with people. He had this encounter with Abraham. That's why, when he was speaking to the Pharisees in the book of John, I think it's chapter 7, he said Abraham was glad to see me. And the Pharisees was saying, how come you are a young person saying that Abraham saw you at this time?
You don't have even
you don't
50.
have even 50. It's because Abraham really saw him in the past as the messenger. So, and we will have that chance to see him face to face. And that's our hope, that we will see him face to face. And it says in the verse 7, and YaHuWaH said, I have indeed seen, and this is what you said, seen, not heard.
Yeah.
I have indeed seen the oppression of my people who are in Mizraim. I have heard their cry because of their slave drivers, for I know their sorrows. Could it be that maybe it was the messenger, the Malach YaHuWaH, the one seeing this, confirming what's happening?
Yeah, maybe it's like the same parallel like in Lot's story.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that is very similar.
So he saw and he heard their cry, and I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Mistreats. And this is so beautiful because it's exactly what will happen at the end times. It's Yahushua coming down once again,
Even deliverance.
in order to bring deliverance and salvation, to deliver them from the hand of the Mistreats, and to bring them up from that land to a good and spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. So he's coming down to take them from this place to bring them to this other place. And this is exactly what is the perfect summary of what the Exodus means. And what we see in the book of Revelation, and what we know is going to happen at the end times. He's coming down in order to take us. He will send the messengers, his messengers, to take us from the four corners of the earth. We just read about it in the book of the Devarim, Deuteronomy. And now see, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Mistreats oppress them. So that's why we need to cry out. We need to cry to Abba. It is written that even nature is crying out for the manifestation of the children of Elohim. So with more reason, we, his children, we need to cry to Abba. How to say the saying we have in Spanish? Huevo que no llora no mama.
Yeah, if a baby doesn't cry enough, he's not going to be fed. By
This
his
is the
mother.
saying we have here in our country.
In Spanish.
It's basically a baby needs to cry in order to get.
So the mother knows
milk.
that he's hungry.
So it's the same thing with us. We need to cry out to Abba in order to
be rescued.
To be rescued and to get the attention of Abba.
If we are content or we are accepting the reality that we have, he's going to think that we are comfortable here.
Yeah. And now come, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Mizraim. Wow. What could be your reaction if Abba is coming, you see the messenger in front of you and saying, I'm sending you
to talk to
Pharaoh and to take my people out of Israel. When he heard that I'm coming down in order to bring deliverance, but I'm going to bring and to do all of this through you.
But what is next is beautiful.
And he said, now come, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Mizraim. And Moshe said to Elohim, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? That I should bring the children of Israel out of Mizraim? He has a problem of
self-esteem,
yes,
maybe.
and trust.
But
And
look
he
at
said,
the answer.
and he said,
Wow.
YaHuWaH said, because I am with you, and this is to you the sign that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Mizraim, you are to serve Elohim on this mountain.
What a purpose.
So he was assuring him, you are going,
With
you are
me.
representing me, but I am with you.
With you.
And then he's also providing the sign. And it's beautiful because at the end, you know, you just think on Moses when he saw everything that YaHuWaH did. And most probably when they came back to the mountain, maybe he remembered this time.
When he heard it for
When
the first time.
YaHuWaH told him that this is a sign. So Moshe said to Elohim, see, when I come to the children of Israel and said to them, the Elohim of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And then, you know, this question for me is really interesting. For me, it reveals that at that time they forgot the name. At that time they forgot the way. They forgot the commandments. Though the instruction, let's say it's instruction, because they didn't get the Torah yet. But as we have seen so far, they knew about it. They got
about
the
that.
instruction about it. It wasn't written.
And from father to son.
It wasn't in a written form, but they knew about it. So they forgot all of that in all those years in Egypt. And even they forgot the name. And this is exactly what has happened in our times too. We have forgot the name, and YaHuWaH has been revealing his name in the last 10 years, maybe more, a little bit more. And this is also for me a kind of a sign in when we see the parallels between what we are reading to what we are living. Is that the revelation of his name and the promise of bringing deliverance. No matter that we see exactly the same thing as we have been discussing today happening in the world, the same thing that happened at that time, maybe with a different scenario, with different names, with different things, but the bottom line and the core of the thing is exactly the same. So he is the revelation of his name, and Elohim said to Moshe, I am that which I am. And he said, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. So this is a beautiful picture, you know, of the revelation of his name. And Elohim said further to Moshe, thus you are to say to the children of Israel, YaHuWaH Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my remembrance to all generations. So that's why it's so important about his name. If we have doubts about the revelation of his name, we need to pray about it. He is going to reveal it to us. This is the way he does. In the same way that he revealed this to Moshe, he will reveal his name to you. And this is so important. His name is so important. Because he said this is my name forever, a remembrance to all generations. And we need to understand that the name of Yahushua is the only name that is bringing salvation. There is no other name above this his name, it is written.
Because he is contained in the name of
And
YaHuWaH.
he is contained in the name of his Father. YaHuWaH, salvation. So that's why it's so important that, you know, at least in my experience, and I know that your experience as well, this brought a lot of blessings, and it was a kind of game changer.
Yeah.
If I can say it like this, to start calling him with his name in the way that he had revealed to us. Okay? Go and you shall gather the elders of Israel together and say to them, YaHuWaH Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, of Yitzchak, and Jacob appeared to me, saying, I have indeed visited you and seen what is done to you in Mizraim. And I say, I am bringing you up out of the affliction of Mizraim to the land of the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, to a land flowing with milk and honey. And they shall listen to your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, to the sovereign of Mizraim, and you shall say to him, YaHuWaH Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us. And now, please, let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness to slaughter to YaHuWaH our Elohim. You know, they continue being, how to say, mantuvieron la compostura. I'm putting you in trouble. No, they didn't lost their manners.
Yeah, something like that. They kept their manners.
They kept their manners because they said, now please. They were not sent to fight with Pharaoh.
And
the one that was going to fight against Pharaoh was YaHuWaH. They kept the manner to say in a respectful way, actually, that I see now by Dwayne Stone in the chat. They were saying please. They were not fighting. They were not pushing. Let us free. Give us freedom. Let us go. No. They were saying please. Let us go. You know, we met our Elohim. And this is exactly what's happening today. You know, YaHuWaH was sending them to speak up. This was the whole discussion was with Moshe, and he was telling Moshe. Moshe was so afraid all the time. He was running away from Pharaoh, and now he was being sent by YaHuWaH to the place that he was running away. And he was giving them even the speech of what he said, what he said.
It's like putting you in the face of your fears.
Yes.
Facing your enemies, I don't know, your thoughts, all your fears.
And that's really important, and that's why, you know, we should not be afraid, and we need to believe in Him at all time. Is that we need to face our fears, and YaHuWaH will be with us, and we need to speak up. We need to, and without losing our manners or our behavior, we need to be peaceful all the time. The time when we need to fight and we need to go to the battle is the time that YaHuWaH will tell us what we need to do. And if we continue, it says, but I know that the sovereign of Mizraim is not going to let you go, not even by strong hand. And then this is the part, you go and try to do it, you go and do my part, you do it in this way, I know what's going to happen, and I'm going to fight for you. You know, he's reassuring what's going to happen.
That it's going to be difficult because it's not going to be easy.
In order to bring confidence to Moses. And this is going to happen. I'm telling you in advance and revealing to you what is going to occur. And this is exactly what's happening to us. We know if we start to speak up, as we were discussing at the beginning, we know what's going to happen. It's a matter to be in fear. We should not. Understanding that YaHuWaH will be with us. What happened with the disciples? You know, when Mashiach ascended, they began somehow their ministry, to use a word. They started to fulfill their purpose. And most probably they needed to face their fears. And they started to speak up. And they started to face persecution and to go into trials, to be stoned, to be threatened of being killed, and a lot of things.
Some of them being questioned about their previous life. because somebody could have told them, well, you were doing this before and now you're telling me this. So I imagine that also with Moshe.
And they knew that they were going to face that because Mashiach,
Mm.
Yahushua, told them about it. He told them that they were going to be persecuted. So, is anything different for us compared to the first believers? I don't think so. The same words that were applicable for them are applicable to us. We know what's going to happen. We know what's going to be the reaction at the moment we start to share light and to speak about the word. You know, I have seen some videos that are so unbelievably sad on this type of persecution. You know, you remember this one of the street preacher?
Yeah.
It was, I think it was in the UK. He went here so she can even share a few things that maybe she has seen on the UK happening. But it's not only in the UK. I have seen this in many places. The street preachers going in a peaceful way in order to share the gospel, the good news, and being ridiculized and being attacked, being beaten up by the people that was saying that they were Christians. People saying that they call themselves Christian, beating up and ridiculized and persecuting a street preacher because he was condemning sin and he was bringing truth of the good news. So these things will happen. We cannot avoid it. It happened to the disciples. It happened to Moshe. And that's why he was revealing to Moses what was going to happen in order to prepare him for the task. So we need to ask ourselves, are we prepared for the task? Because we can continue in our closed door and being studying the word, and as we do every Shabbat, and be waiting for the deliverance, but are we fulfilling the purpose of what YaHuWaH has been calling all of us? I question myself very often that maybe we should do more. It's not to talk only about him and his kingdom to our families or our close friends. Maybe we should do more. It is true that we have different callings and different purposes. You know, I talk about this in this parable of the light bulb here in the channel. But maybe it's the time that is coming that we need to start fulfilling the purpose with more attitude. That we need to fulfill that purpose in order to bring the light. In the same way that the YaHuWaH was sending Moshe, go, I'm going with you. You need to bring deliverance to my people. I know what's going to happen. I'm telling you what's going to happen, but don't worry. I am with you. I am going to do all of this in order to fulfill what I'm saying. I think those words are for us in these days. You know, I will recommend, and I'm sorry to mention again, to watch the video that I shared in the link. It's eyes opening. And that should steer your spirit somehow, that in order to question yourself, what are you doing for the kingdom of Yah? If we see these things happening in the world and the darkness and evil things happening and increasing and growing, light should grow even faster and more. And it depends, I think, in all of us to let that light grow. Because we can also be blocking somehow the light because of fear. Because we are not acting in this, we're acting in the same attitude that Moshe acted at the very beginning, that he was not trusting in himself, not even trusting in YaHuWaH that he was sending him in order to liberate the people, to bring deliverance.
If we decide maybe to keep silence only to avoid a an uncomfortable moment. Sometimes I have heard a lot of people that says we don't talk about, I don't know, religion, sport, and blah, 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 because usually it's a kind of fight. But in this case, there's some truth that cannot be silent. There are some truth and some ways that we cannot keep hidden.
Yep. And Shannon is asking for the link. I will repost it here. Here you have it. And take a look on this. You will find few things that you remember it got our attention. In the
especially when it says that
the behavior of the people in their last minutes is that you can see that they were seeing something.
Yeah, they are fighting against
they
something.
were fighting against something, and this should be a confirmation for us that there is a spiritual warfare, a spiritual fight that's happening in these days. It's nothing physical that we see. The spiritual is being seen in the physical somehow. It's being I forgot the word, but has an impact on the physical. But in this case, there is something spiritual that we need to ask Allah to open our eyes to see it. And you will see in that video people at their last minute seeing something.
And also remember that where it says in the scripture that life is in the blood.
Yeah, and thank you, Yarash. It's manifested in the physical.
Yeah.
So let's continue reading here. And I shall stretch out my hand and strike Mizraim. So he's bringing the battle, he's bringing the fight, he's fighting for us. And he has done it all the time. He did it with Israel during the years in the wilderness. And he will do it for us with all my wonders which I'll do in its midst. And after that he shall let you go. And I shall give these people favor in the eyes of the Mizrites. And it shall be that when you go, you shall go no empty-handed. But every woman shall ask from her neighbor and from the stranger in her house objects of silver and objects of gold and garments. And you shall put them on your sons and on your daughters, and shall plunder the Mizrites. And this was for a purpose. They use all of this in order to give the contribution later on, the terumah later on, in order to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and everything that they saw, that Moshe saw in the mountain. Anything else you want to add before we move forward?
No, now that I read everything and I see how YaHuWaH is giving the confidence to Moshe and to telling him, I am with you, I'm going to go with you, this is the purpose and everything. You're not going to be alone, and I'm going to fight this fight for you. I'm always remembering a lot of years later, when Yahushua has to face his death, and he was visited by Moshe and by in the Transfiguration, and Elijah. And I think that maybe it was Moshe saying, "Well, you were there for me at the time. Now I'm telling you, you're not alone. YaHuWaH is with you. He's giving you the strength. You are not going to be alone." So I think that was the remind him when he was in the human side. Yeah. So you told me, now I'm telling you. Something like that.
Or maybe there was a kind of transposition in time.
And it was at the same time.
And it was at the same time when Moshe was on the mountain. Somehow it was at the same experience, the same situation that it was the Transfiguration.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Because we don't know how times work, but someday we will know.
And remember that Eliyahu was in the mountain as well.
And he was usually being brought from one place to the other place. And I don't know.
So let's go to chapter 4. And actually, we're going to take more time than usual, but let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Should I read?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just read the one.
Okay. And Moshe answered and said, if they do not believe me, nor listen to my voice. And I said, YaHuWaH has not appeared to you? And YaHuWaH said to him, what is that in your hand? And he said, a rod. And he said, throw it on the ground. So he threw it on the ground and became a serpent. And Moshe fled from it. And YaHuWaH said to Moshe, reach out your hand and seize it by the tail. So he reached out his hand and took hold of it, and it became a rod in his hand. So that they believe that YaHuWaH Elohim of their fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov has appeared to you. And YaHuWaH said to him again, now put your hand in your bosom. And he put his hand in his bosom, and when he took it out, and see, his hand was leprous, like snow. And he said, put your hand in your bosom again. And he put his hand in his bosom again, and drew it out of his bosom, and see, it was restored like his other flesh. And it shall be, if they do not believe you, nor listen to the voice of the first sign, they shall believe the voice of the latter sign. And it shall be, if they do not believe even these two signs, or listen to your voice, that you shall take water from the river and pour it on the dry land. And the water which you take from the river shall become blood on the dry land. And Moshe said to YaHuWaH, O YaHuWaH, I am not man of words, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant.
It seems that he didn't want to go.
Yeah, like I'm looking for excuses. So, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. And YaHuWaH said to him, who has made man's mouth? Or who makes dumb, or deaf, or seeing, or blind? It is not I, YaHuWaH. And now go, and I shall be with your mouth, and teach you what to say. But he said, O YaHuWaH, please send by the hand of him whom you would send.
So who he was referring to here? You know, I have always wondered, because it seems that Moshe knew that somebody was coming
To speak.
And to bring deliverance.
Mm.
Because he's saying, oh YaHuWaH, please send by the hand of him who you would send.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he knew that somebody was coming.
Yeah.
And I have always thought that he was referring to Mashiach.
Mm.
Maybe he knew, and they knew from that point of time that the Savior was coming.
Mm. Or maybe talking to him, to YaHuWaH, saying, well, if you are going to save, then you go. But I'm going to be there, but not doing anything.
And you know, all this story is so beautiful because we should see ourselves in Moshe. We have so many doubts all the time. And we are so easy to look for excuses in order not to move on and to do what YaHuWaH is inviting us to do. It's exactly what Moses is doing here. But we see in the other side YaHuWaH reinforcing his belief and his trust. I will do all of this, and this is exactly we see here. What are the purposes of the miracles and the signs? Is to bring confirmation, is to bring emunah, belief. You know, he was saying all these signs with the hand, with the rod, in order to build up confidence, in order to build up trust in YaHuWaH.
When I think about those miracles, because those were miracles, about taking your rod and throw it to the... sometimes I feel, because I'm always think about a road, that is something that helps you walk, to go in your way, to give you the defense in case you have to face a wild animal, I don't know. And the same thing that is helping you, you throw it, and then it's becoming a very dangerous animal. Because in the desert, you know that serpents are, I don't know, the first danger that you're going to encounter. Usually they're lethal. So, and then at one point, maybe it's something that was useful for you is something little. Even you are afraid of that. But you have the power to take it from the tail, and it's back again. Now you can continue again. Now
and
you
the second
have your
one was with sickness with his own body.
Yeah, and it was a kind of sickness that is usually when you have everything white because of leprosy, is because you are dying in the same moment almost, and everything is the flesh is I don't know, is decaying. So it's really the worst stage of that sickness. So you are almost dying, but you do the same. You put it in your bosom, and it's like a baby again. So wow, those kind of miracles are very impactful.
That's true. So it says the following: the displeasure of YaHuWaH burned against Moshe, and he said, "Is not Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he speaks well, and see, he is also coming out to meet you. And when he sees you, he shall be glad in his heart. And you shall speak to him and put the words in his mouth. And I am with your mouth and with his mouth, and I shall teach you what to do." And this should be our prayer, that he should teach us what to do all the time. Could it be that it wasn't in the plan of YaHuWaH at the very beginning to put Aaron together with Moses? Maybe he was thinking just to put Moses.
Yeah, but maybe for that position, Moses should have trust him himself, or to have enough confidence.
Because if we think in the final stage of the plan, is going to be one priest and king. In this case, we see two: is Moshe is the shofet, is the judge, and Aaron is the priest. And YaHuWaH wanted to put right away this scenario of just having one person. But because of this belief, to say somehow, he had to put Aaron as well in this position. So and we need to be attentive, because the displeasure of YaHuWaH burned against Moshe because of this belief. And are we going to wait till that point of time, or are we going to believe before? Are we going to waiting for his displeasure,
or putting excuses in the way that he at some point he's going to be mad with us because he's saying, "Well, I'm telling you that I'm going with you. What else do you need?"
So it says in the 16. You are reading, I think. You're reading, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, you were reading. I started to read.
And it doesn't matter. And he shall speak for you to the people, and it shall be that he shall be a mouth for you, and you shall be an Elohim for him. And take this rod in your hand, with which you shall do the signs. And Moshe went and returned to Jether, his father-in-law, or Yitro, and said to him, "Please let me go and return to my brothers, who are in Mizraim, to see whether they are still alive." And Yitro said to Moshe, "Go in peace."
And this is interesting. Why he was asking for permission?
Well, because
he was asking for permission, right?
I think that it was because of respect. He was living with them. And usually when you are in the house of somebody, you're not going to do whatever you want. You have to there is somebody, there is the head of that place, and you have to.
He was in charge. Yitro was in charge. Yeah. So it's exactly as you said. This is because of respect.
Yeah.
So even here we see what should be our behavior.
Yeah.
He got an instruction, a very important instruction from YaHuWaH on what to do.
Yeah.
He was going to the war basically.
Yeah.
But he kept that peace and that love in everything he did.
And YaHuWaH said to Moshe in Media, "Go, return to Mizraim, for all the men are dead whose thoughts your life." And Moshe took his wife and his sons and set them on a donkey, and he returned to the land of Mizraim. And Moshe took the rod of Elohim in his hand. And YaHuWaH said to Moshe, "As you go back to Mizraim, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I'm going to strengthen his heart, so that he does not let the people go. And you shall say to Pharaoh, 'Thus said YaHuWaH, Israel is my son, my firstborn.
Oh, yeah, and, we can stay hours here speaking
Yeah.
about this because this is so relevant. And I think
Yeah.
I talked about this in once, but I don't remember when.
About the firstborn?
I was in the study. I think it was in the study of the death, burial, and resurrection of Yahushua. And most probably wasn't one of the last studies when I covered this thing about being the firstborn. So let's continue.
So I said to you, let my son go to serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, see, I am killing your son, your firstborn. And it came to be on the way, in the lodging place, that YaHuWaH met him and thought to kill him. And Sipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and threw it at his feet and said, you are indeed a bridegroom of blood to me. So he let him go. Then she said, you are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. And YaHuWaH said to Aaron, go to meet Moshe in the wilderness. And he went and met him on the mountain of Elohim and kissed him. And Moshe then told Aaron all the words of YaHuWaH, who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. And Moshe went with Aaron and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. And Aaron spoke all the words which YaHuWaH had spoken to Moshe. Then he did the signs before the eyes of the people.
Here is something that is a very strange situation happening here. I think we talked about this in the past, but you remember we saw also a study from somebody else speaking about this. I don't remember who was.
I think that it was Fire and Rice.
Could be, or maybe those videos from Aleph Bet. Also, we saw it.
Yeah, maybe.
But you know, it looks as a very difficult thing to understand because you know YaHuWaH was seeking to kill Moshe, and it seems to be is that because they were not circumcising the first one. And we talk about this in the past, and it seems that it was Sipporah against circumcision in the way that it's written here.
Yeah, I can picture the image. Because like a woman like okay, I'm going to do it.
Throwing away.
Yeah, because
here you have it.
Because I think that she was opposing to that. Because that was the instruction. And Moshe was circumcised and all the families before.
Yeah.
And it was nothing to do with them. They were from another tribe with another people. So I think that at the end, as a woman, when you refuse something, okay, I'm going to do it by myself, and okay, here you have something like that. But it was a very, I don't know.
Sad situation.
Yeah, sad situation.
You know, I have some theories about that because it is written, I think it's in the book of Bemidbar, no, it's in the same book of Shemoth, that Moshe shalach her. Is that because Yitro, when they came to meet them in the wilderness,
he
came
was
with Sipporah.
So they were
separated somehow.
Yeah, and I think that maybe it was not a good idea, even though when she wanted to comply with the request of the circumcision, because I don't know why. It was Abraham who was doing this to his son and to everybody. Yeah. It was Yahushua who did it with all the Israel people who wasn't circumcised at that time. It was always the male. It was always and not a female who was doing that. So I think that was not also a good, even though it was the result was okay or the action was being made, it was not up to her to do that.
One thing that is important here, I want to highlight it. It says this one. When he spoke, and Aaron spoke the words to the elders, then he did the signs before the eyes of the people, and the people believed. You know, that's why Yahushua was so glad when people approached him with belief. Even, you know, this the soldier, the Roman soldier, and he was saying, I would like to see this type of faith and belief in the Israel, the faith that he was seeing in this person. because our nature is that we are not going to believe until we see. That's a normal and human nature. That's why what we need to pray in these times is exactly this, that YaHuWaH can bring these signs and wonders that we see written in his word, because the only way that and I think we talked about this a few weeks ago as well, that but especially in this generation, they are not so it's not easy to get their attention. We were just discussing about how YaHuWaH got Moses' attention by doing something with the burning bush. It's the same with miracles, with signs. But the point now is that this generation, it's not easy to get their attention, to convince, because they're used to see, with technology, they're used to see things.
But I think that it's even worse, because they can be shown a lot of fake things and they're going to believe it. Yeah. So now they have the risk that they don't, even they don't see a wonder, they're not going to believe at all. So I don't know.
So that's why we need to pray to YaHuWaH in this time, so he can bring those signs and wonders. In the same way that the disciples, the first believers, no matter that they were being persecuted, those signs and wonders were following them. Maybe is something we need to do before. Maybe we need to step up before and do something, and those signs will follow us. So let's read the chapter 5 quickly, and we will finish with that. I think it's until verse 1 of chapter 6. So it says the following: and afterwards, Moshe and Aaron went in and said to Pharaoh, "Thus said YaHuWaH Elohim of Israel, let my people go, so that they celebrate a festival to me in the wilderness." So they were going to keep Moedims, and then we see a reinforcement of that we need to keep the Moedims of YaHuWaH. Moedims are important because it's the time that we encounter and we partake with Elohim.
And that's the part of being taken out of the affliction that they were in Mizraim. Because now, and I don't know if it happened the same to you, because at least for me, it was that when I started keeping the Moedims of YaHuWaH, it was when he was taking me out of the system of and giving me a knowledge about, look of the origin of this festivity that is not mine. And look at this, and you're going to start to understanding a lot of connection that you're going to suffer if you don't let those go and you don't embrace YaHuWaH's Moedim.
True. And also, this is also a confirmation that most of these things happen in the appointed times. That they were going to celebrate a festival. And Pharaoh said, "Who is YaHuWaH?" And the same today. That I should obey his voice to let Israel go. I do not know YaHuWaH, nor am I going to let Israel go. So it's the same reaction today. People doesn't want to listen about Elohim. They don't know him. But we need to know him. We know him. And they said, "The Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us. Please, let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and slaughter to YaHuWaH our Elohim, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword." But the sovereign of Mizraim said to them, "Moshe and Aaron, why do you take the people from their work? Get back to your burdens." If I remember well, I think I saw in the book of Jubilees or the book of Yasher, is that they were pushing people to start keeping Shabbat. And that's why, it is written in this way that you take the people from their work. And the reaction was even worse from Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said, "See, the people of the land are many now, and you make them cease from their burdens." And the same day Pharaoh commanded the slave drivers of the people and their foremen, saying, "You are no longer to give the people straw to make bricks as before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves, and lay on them the required amount of bricks which they made before. Do not diminish it. for they are idle.
Mm.
That is why they cry out, saying, let us go and slaughter to our Elohim. So, the reaction, taking your example, YaHuWaH was blessing you in that, in your experience, that you didn't see wrong reaction on your employer. They understood YaHuWaH was opening the door for you. But it could be that
Maybe
we can face a different reaction.
Yeah, no, of course.
Oh, you don't want to work, so you will have more work.
Mm.
And I do believe that this is exactly somehow what's happening today, intentionally or unintentionally. Unintentionally, is that we are getting more stressed. We are being more pressed up on what we need to do in our day-to-day. The feelings of the day getting shorter and not having enough time, I think, is increasing day by day. That you look you look back and you see that the time has been going faster and faster, and you have not enough time to do your responsibilities, and you see the system increasing even more. Your work and your responsibility. This is exactly what we see here happening, and that's why for me this is so much parallel to what happened back then to what's happening today. So let's continue. Let more work be laid on the men so that they labor in it, and not pay attention to words of falsehood. So, and this is so relevant because that's the way we need to realize and we need to understand and this is what I was telling you yesterday, if you remember. You remember? No, you don't remember.
Yeah, I remember.
You remember?
Yeah, but I don't know what of the
What
things
of all the things that I told you.
Yeah.
And this exactly, is by what's going on in the system of the world and this craziness that we are experiencing is exactly what Shirion just put on the chat. Is in order to keep us our focus to be in somewhere else instead of being focusing in the words of YaHuWaH. And even going to the point to say that those words that we want to focus in are words of falsehood. I saw some information a few days ago, actors from Hollywood mocking people because they were believing in God. And the people are there going in mass to see their movies and so on. Most probably Christian people on those, in the past I was part of it as well. When they're mocking our beliefs because they believe that those words are falsehood. So we need to pay attention to what is written here, because everything that's happening in the world, the only intention is to keep our focus not in Elohim, not in YaHuWaH, not in the kingdom, is to keep us trapped in the slavery of the system of the world, instead of keeping our eyes in the kingdom of Yah, in the place we belong to. And the slave drivers of the people and their foremen went out and spoke to the people, saying, Thus said Pharaoh, I do not give you straw. Go take straw for yourselves, wherever you find it, for your work shall not be diminished. And taking straw is not an easy job, I can tell you in experience.
Yeah, of course. If you're allergic,
it's even worse.
It's a nightmare.
It's a heavy work, heavy duty. And the people were scattered in all the lands of Mizraim to gather stubble for straw. And the slave drivers were hurrying them on, saying, Fulfill your actions, your daily matters, as when there was straw. So, do you feel yourself, compelled somehow in these words? I feel myself in a similar situation. Also the foremen of the children of Israel, whom Pharaoh's slave drivers had set over them, were struck and were asked, "Why have you not fulfilled your law in making bricks both yesterday and today as before?" What do you want to say?
No, because these are the goals that usually in the companies they set for you. Like, yeah, you have this goal, you haven't met them, now it's even higher. Yeah, something like
This
that.
is the way how the system works.
yeah.
You know, you do something this year, the next year you need to be more, and the following year more, and this is
Yeah, something that is like
an endless story. It's a cycle that is increasing all the time, and it's bringing pressure over all the people and all the system. So, and the foreman of the children of Israel came and cried out to Pharaoh, saying, "Why do you treat your servants this way? There is no straw given to your servants." And they say to us, "Make bricks, and see, your servants are struck, but your own people are at fault." But he said, "You are idle, you are idle. That is why you say, 'Let us go and slaughter to YaHuWaH.' So now go, work, and straw is not given to you, but deliver the amount of bricks." So just to and keep in mind what we said at the beginning, what is written in the book of Yasher is that they were free and they were deceived by the Misrians, and they got caught in that deceit. And because they got caught and they follow those deceit, they ended up in this situation. So what's the message for me, and I think it's for us, is that we need to have open ears, open eyes. We need to ask Abba to open our eyes, open our ears and eyes this time, in order not to get caught in the deceits of today. In order to let Abba to reveal to us how to continue being set apart, how to trust only in Him and not in the system of the world, in order not to end up in this situation. I know that maybe in a different way, we are in this situation as of now, and it will continue increasing that pressure. But we need to think that maybe this is the way that YaHuWaH wants to really take us out of Babylon, in the way that He is crying out to us. And we need to realize it's Abba, YaHuWaH, Elohim, crying out to us, telling us, "Come out of Babylon. Come out of Babylon."
Do not continue there.
Exactly. So in one moment or the other, He will do something in order for us to come out. And the foreman of the children of Israel saw that they were in trouble after it was said, "You are not to diminish your daily amount of bricks." And when they came out from Pharaoh, they met Moshe and Aaron, who stood there to meet them. And they said to them, "Let YaHuWaH look on you and judge, because you have made us loathsome in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants, to give a sword in their hand to kill us." And Moshe returned to YaHuWaH and said, "YaHuWaH, why have you done evil to these people? Why did you send me? For ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has done evil to these people, and you have not delivered your people at all." So this is the reaction we can encounter. And not only, even the reaction among his people, that they are losing heart and losing trust. Believing at the beginning because they saw the signs, but it's like the parable of the sower, that when the persecution come, they are gonna wither. And this is also a beautiful picture, because when persecution rise, what Moshe did, he prayed. He seek the face of YaHuWaH. This is exactly what we need to do when we see persecution around us. We need to seek His face. We need to ask. We need to speak boldly to Him, saying that this is happening. Help me. And what was the answer from Abba? And YaHuWaH said to Moshe, "Now see what I do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand he's going to let them go, and with strong hand he's going to drive them out of his land. Maybe YaHuWaH was preparing the ground because Pharaoh was treating harshly the people before, but in this case now he was going against YaHuWaH. He heard that was YaHuWaH the one sending Moses and with this message to let the people go. So Pharaoh now wasn't against the people only, he was against YaHuWaH. So maybe that's why YaHuWaH was waiting patiently the perfect timing in order for this to happen, that Pharaoh was against him. And now that Pharaoh was against him, the scenario was set in order for him to bring the battle against Pharaoh.
Yeah, not before, but what would have happened if he was giving him permission?
And now connecting dots, realizing of what I said. Let's see if I find it.
All this was needed at the end. All the bad days.
It says in Revelation chapter 13, verse 6. Let's read 5 and 6. And he was given a mouth speaking great matters and blasphemies. And he was given authority to do so 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against Elohim, to blaspheme his name and his tent and those dwelling in heaven. Maybe this is exactly what needs to happen. This figure, this person, needs to be in place and needs to speak against YaHuWaH.
Treating bad the people.
And treating bad the people, maybe the people of YaHuWaH only, but speaking against YaHuWaH. Because if we parallel to what I said, is that maybe YaHuWaH was waiting for Pharaoh to go against him directly. He was going against him indirectly by treating harshly his people. But now he was going against YaHuWaH directly, saying, who is YaHuWaH? I don't know YaHuWaH. Why I need to listen to his voice? And because you are listening to YaHuWaH, I'm going to do this for you. So you were having straw, no more straw, and you need to keep the quota. So in this case, in our times, it will come a person that will do exactly the same. And maybe YaHuWaH is waiting for that time when somebody, a ruler, is going to speak against him. And that's going to be the moment and the scenario that because of that's happening, he's able, or is the moment allowing him to go against this person and this system. We know that they are going against YaHuWaH indirectly. There are many rulers doing it, speaking wrong about the Elohim. But the scenario in this case is basically one person having dominion over the entire world, speaking against the Elohim of the heavens,
the Creator,
and the Creator. And that's exactly the scenario that needs to happen most probably in order for YaHuWaH to take the sword and to bring battle in order to restore his kingdom and his creation.
Yeah, and all those plagues now they're represented in the bowls that he's going to pour on the earth. So we have to be prepared.
Good. So many parallels, you know.
Yeah.
It took more time than usual, but I think it was necessary. Because all these parallel to what we are living today are the important. We should keep our eyes open to understand that we are living in those times. And we need to take we need to gird our loins. And what it means is that we need to gird our loins. It means is that we need to be ready for the battle. Or maybe ready to run away also could be a situation. But we are being prepared not to run away. We are being prepared to face our fears, as you said, and we saw here in Moshe, and to fulfill the purpose that YaHuWaH has for all of us. Any final words before
that we have to be strong, that we have to know that we are fighting against spiritual matters, that maybe are attacking this and maybe our heart. But YaHuWaH is stronger than everything, and He's going to fight the big fight for us.
That's true.
Mm.
So having said that, Toda Rabah, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this study is bringing blessing to all of you here in the chat and to all of you that are watching this later. And we are going to finish as we do with a song.
Here.
Which one?
Annie, what? Sharing email coming. Yes. Yeah, we have remembered.
You have a pending task? This is on you.
Yeah, you have to provide me your computer.
Yes, not a problem with that. So we're going to finish with a song, so I hope you enjoy it, and I hope to see you next week in the continuation of the book of Shemot. Have a wonderful Shabbat, have a blessed week, keep praying for one another.
Yeah.
These difficult times. It's
needed.
Important to pray for one another, and keep the joy of YaHuWaH in your heart and the shalom of YaHuWaH in your heart.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. YaHuWaH be with you all. See you next Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחייב בנעימתה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, רב להושיע. So